Hi, Jayant. Welcome. We've been working together, and sustainability is something of personal interest to me. And I think the entire domain of sustainability and decision making is very ambiguous. Is intense debate regarding policy, engineering, planning, how to achieve it, and you yourself are involved in providing solutions to alternative um, uh, fuels that rely on biological waste. Now, apart from your company capability, I'm interested in your perspective on sustainability, and I'm also interested in your sort of knowledge of the relationship between the economic modeling of sustainability as well as how to make it commercially viable. Have you thought about uh, a macroscopic model of what you want to achieve?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mahesh. So it's basically like sustainability, as you know, is very broad area. And having said that, there are different ways and means by which you can achieve sustainability in different sectors, including whether it is water usage, wastewater, waste management, or energy management. And obviously, like the way I work or the way I provide different type of solutions, which are innovative in a way I try to take a holistic approach in the sense like, whatever resources are available, whether those resources can very well be, collated and, have some sort of, meaningful value out of it. So in short, like what I'm trying to do is, achieving, sustainability with the principles of resource recovery, circular economy, value addition, and those type of stuff. And obviously, with these things, when you're talking about different sort of models that you have, particularly in the energy sector, what I personally feel is in different parts of the world it varies. When you take consider like India or Europe or Australia or New Zealand or Africa, everyone has got different sort of priorities as well. So depending on what are the priorities, what are the main areas where these the models can be implemented. So in my opinion, those sort of models will vary from place to place. Considering where we are living in Australia, I think the main economic model that we have, or the enablers for this type of economic model implementation successfully, largely dependent on a couple of issues. Like one, first of all, is there is a lack of knowledge or sort of information to the industry sector, to the government sector, what is happening in the world. They are not like really aware. Number two, there has to be some sort of policy support to implement these type of different economic models. So depending on what area that you're looking into, definitely this will vary, but in my opinion, those sort of economic models that we have could vary from like we had done a couple of projects back in India on boot project, build own operate and transfer. So you have investor on board, you can do those type of projects as well. Some of the projects like could be PPP, like public private partnership type of thing projects as well. Some of the projects, like depending on the economic development, like you have a community coming in together. Couple of projects are already happening in Australia related to the solar on those basis as well. So economic model will differ depending on what type of energy and what type of locations and what type of requirements are there as well.
And I know we can't use blunt instruments when providing solutions because the and I think uh, you have one role as a scientific consultant.
Yeah,
Uh, you have done the study
yeah.
into sustainability in at a granular and a very large level. Now, what are the real barriers in public tenders that you have experienced? Um, and I guess the context is one is public tenders in Australia, and are there private tenders? And what about the tenders that you have applied for, maybe in Southeast Asia?
See, my mode of operation is I usually like don't go for the tenders unless someone asks me to join on board. What my way of working, in this area is the networking, basically contacting the end users who really are in need of those things, who really are number one, willing to do something, who are basically experiencing a lot of high prices of the energy, that crunch they feel it end of the day, and at the same time they have some sort of aim to achieve sustainability or reducing their carbon footprint. Now in this sort of pathway I come across with different companies, like from the major big ones to the smaller one, and I got varied experience, and those sort of uh, experiences which are different from the different industry sectors as well.
Mm.
For example, a small dairy, which is very small dairy having about 500 cows, they really wanted to be, achieving that sort of carbon neutrality. So they know for sure, in what area they are getting, more sort of carbon emission, and where they are really looking into implementing different solutions. Now, as you know, in the dairy, their main enteric, main emission is due to the enteric methane emission. Second part, largest part is the electricity, energy consumption, and third is, obviously the waste material generated from the dairy sector. So in this area, what they are really looking into, how they can tackle that, of out of all this thing, like around 10-15% of the emission is because of the waste thing.
Mm.
So they have energy problem to some extent. They have put the solar energy to some extent, but that is not really 100% achieving their demand. And at the same time, unless you have the battery, you can't really make use of that energy in the VRs in the nighttime.
Mm.
So obviously, like they have the resource, like which is a waste material, and that is a problem for them, creating a lot of emission, about 10-15% of the total emission, and they have energy problems. So why not, get those things two problem together to solve the major problems, that they have. Both the problems will be solved. So in one stone, like you are beating, two birds, something like that is happening here. So when I'm treating the waste into biogas, you're generating biogas, storing on site for a evening time when there is no solar power available. And at the same time, that will be producing electricity using in the night time. And at the same time, you are able to reduce your carbon emission and other stuff, with
And
this.
if I may interject, the thing about this alternate fuel concepts is, uh, and I know this from personal empirical knowledge. Many of the people have remote sites. One thing, and farmers are a very good example,
Correct,
because for them to bring the grid infrastructure to them is actually very expensive and a very pricey experience.
correct.
Um, and in that case, having their own sovereign access to, uh, because they have either so much organic or biological waste
Yeah,
that they can leverage from.
correct.
So the thing is, if we the alternative to using it is actually just disposing it or just let it sit where it is.
Yeah,
And if you can actually use it to generate either an income or generate energy, it can
yeah,
be fed back into the production process
yeah,
and bring much convenience.
correct. So that is very true. The thing is, like, I am dealing with currently one of the customers who is off grid. He doesn't have any electricity, and obviously, like, because there is no any power line available, he is using diesel to generate electricity and even to operate other equipments and other stuff. So he has got a lot of access to the organic waste. And what we found out is, there are very good, potential to utilize his own resources that he has got. and offset that whatever diesel consumption that he has got in the whole area, like in his factory. So there are a lot of such examples, I reckon, in Australia, wherein those industries, they are not really aware, or they are lack of fund, or they are not really knowledgeable about all those things, like whether it really helps them to find out what are the positive negatives of those things, pros and cons of technology implementation.
Mm.
Because they have seen, like, most of the thing, what has happened here in Australia, in my opinion, is um, some of the plants that were built in early stages, they were not really working in a best possible way that they should deliver the output. As an
Mm.
example, like, I worked for one of the piggeries, and they built that biogas plant based on the covered anaerobic lagoon, and that was not performing for last 6 months. And then when I checked it, there were some issues related to the volatile fatty acids and other type of things that are required to keep the bacteria healthy to convert the biogas. So I just change those things and then make sure that they're getting good amount of gas out of that as well. So those are the small things which are basically hindering or for the implementation of these type of projects in the market.
And,
But having said that, I think this is a good example wherein, if this project comes up, this will be very sort of ideal sort of project showcase, wherein we can demonstrate, yes, in a remote area where there is no grid, as you said, they need a lot of money to get the power line and the stuff, more than
oh,
half a million, $1 million. And this really makes sense to have alternative fuel source there as well.
and and if we just understand the global market, because sustainability is actually being commoditized.
Yeah,
The whole entire discussion of sustainability is not in the best interest. It is only as valid as there is a fractional uh, monetization of value
yeah,
in the policy,
yeah,
and that's fine. Everyone wants to make money. That's excellent,
right,
but there has to be the buck has to stop somewhere, right?
correct, correct,
Because uh, decision makers can't make decisions on a whim. They have to show that they have a reason for the decision, right?
correct.
And they have to rely on scientists like yourself or research organizations. Who is actually leading the balanced discussion between profitability and sustainability and ecology in a balanced manner? Who is making the decisions, or where are the publications that dictate your industry?
There are a lot of organizations who are doing that. These are the apex bodies related to the bioenergy, for example, or some of the universities who are working into these areas. Then the government has also formed some, organizations or the groups with some eminent, scientists, or the people from the government organization itself, who are really helping to shape all those things here. But as I say, like, these type of things, like alternative fuel, whether it is gasification, pyrolysis, biogas, or any other technology, these technologies are very common in other parts of the world. Like, if you consider in Europe, there are a lot of biogas plants. In Germany alone, there are about more than 15,000 biogas plants.
Yep.
So these are not being implemented here, and one has to look into what are the reasons behind that. And what is happening is, particularly in my opinion, is there are a lot of reports that have been published, like the strategy reports and this report and that report. I think it's a time for action now. Like, that technology works. Some of the technologies, definitely you need a lot of R&D things to be done. But those technologies who are established, in my opinion, there is no need to do any R&D. You can straightforward, move on with implementing. And for that, the government support is required, as we discussed, like, they have to support this type of sustainability
Yeah.
initiatives,
And,
either
and I
through.
think the other headache that I see is Australia is tries to uh, see, there is two standards here. One standard is uh, regarding the development of standards and regulations, right?
Yeah,
Uh, you take economic leadership from other Western countries, but you reinvent the wheel by recreating standards
yeah,
and recreating regulations just as a just yeah, and it's a very transactional exercise. What are you actually doing? Copying documents or copying concepts or just rewriting a document? What the hell is that, right?
yeah,
And so the thing is, and if I may add an adjunct to that, a car designed for Europe is not the same as a car designed for India. If that
yeah.
is the argument, no problem. Go
Mm.
ahead and develop standards and regulations, right?
Correct. Yeah, yeah,
So, you know, there is a net benefit in implementing something that reduces waste
yeah,
in an organic manner
yeah,
using known technologies.
yeah,
Where are the objections? And I think majority of the objections come from the fact that they don't know you,
yeah,
uh, and they come from the fact that maybe they have understood and pretend not to understand
yeah,
and remain polite.
yeah,
And also the other thing is, I guess they might not have the money, but still engage you in a discussion,
yeah.
right? So they're the three normal customer scenarios, right?
Very true. Yeah.
And what happens is with those, are there any regulatory and frameworks of standards that you have to adhere to when you do consultancy to design, define, and implement these plants here and in other places?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This it is there. Like there are certain regulatory requirements, for every each and every project, depending on what you have, whether it is energy management, waste management, or any other type of technology implementation as well. But having said that, as you mentioned, like there are different areas which need definitely to be streamlined, and because I know I also work in other parts of the world, and I know in some of the countries, they have the mechanism to push these projects through their sort of governmental machinery for the approval, and giving a big tick in a most possible reduced way, like time period I'm talking about. So, for example, like this type of projects wherein you are using waste as a resource, converting into energy value, added value, and other byproducts as well. So some of the countries, they may have very shorter period, like couple of months, but some
Yes.
of the countries may have year or 1.5 year as well. So we need to think of those things, how we can streamline those things in order to facilitate these type of projects, making sure that all those sort of regulatory frameworks, or the subsidies, tax benefits, etc., that reward the the carbon, as well, ultimately achieving the circular economy in the region. That is
And
another area of the
yeah,
carbon and other stuff. There are a lot
yeah,
of things that are happening in this area as well.
yeah.
But again, like we are not still there. That is what I think. Yeah, there's a lot of
I,
improvement,
I,
scope for the
I
improvement.
mean, one thing I will offer to you, Jayant, whether it's sustainability or uh, change in preferences of underwear, it all takes time. Uh,
Yep,
so the thing is, the human condition is there is initially rejection to everything.
yep,
Uh, there is more than resistance to change. There's also a resistance to understanding.
yep,
Uh, it is the status quo experience, and that brings into, because we're dealing with such slow moving changes, which is
yep,
not your fault. It is just the situation we're dealing with, right?
correct.
And without blaming politicians and consumers, where is the actual, where did the discussion of sustainability actually begin?
I think looking into, as I say, like initially, sustainability is very broad area, but those type of different aspects, that you should look into, how these type of things can be, moved in a better way. In my opinion, like, the policy and incentives, I think, equally important. Then you also look into the technological evolutions, like, what is happening.
Yeah,
As an example, like, what I like to give you is there's a lot of R&D going on. There's a lot of AI based optimization going on. There's a lot of blockchain and the resource tracking, to improve the
yes,
efficiency and those type of areas.
yes,
So all those things I think are very crucial in order to go on the pathway of the sustainability. And in the whole process, achieving this, that the stakeholder engagement is again equally important. I think you have to bring everyone on same page, like they. And for that, again, as I say, like earlier, the education and capacity building is equally important. I
yes,
think that is what is really lacking here in Australia. Most of the industries I had visited, they were not really aware, like, oh, these are the technologies that are available commercially, which can tackle those issues for them. So those sort of awareness is coming gradually, and for that, I think different sort of training workshop need to be arranged. And I think the other another way of looking at it is, I did propose some time back, like I would, my ideal dream project is like for the industry sector, there will be one area, one region in the state wherein we have demonstrated all those technologies,
hmm,
like for water management, waste management, energy management. So the industries can come there and they can feel the technology. They can leave it, see the technology, because seeing is believing here in Australia.
yes,
And that will give them some sort of sense, like, oh, these are the things for the industry where we can really achieve sustainability in different ways. Similarly, even for the council area, like there are so many regional councils, small councils in the which are remote. And as you mentioned, they're also like having a lot of issues about waste management. They have a lot of greenhouse gas emissions and other stuff. So they can embed everything together and have a very ideal sort of green and clean village, very more sustainable. They are not allowing any type of waste material to go out, resource recovery and other things. And again, like for doing these type of things, we need funding, we need education, we need capacity building, we need to have some technology tie-up and all those things as well. And obviously, like maybe public private partnership, those people who are supplying the technology, they can come on board, they can demonstrate there, they get that sort of knowledge there
and
as well.
and if I think in ratios,
Yeah.
uh, uh, for uh, for a 1 cubic meter dense uh, biomass of a given density, of a known density, if you submit that to your plant, uh, if you take a sort of homogeneous biomass uh, to the best, just for discussion purpose,
Yeah.
what is the output and at what rate? How long will that output last?
They say like it depends on what type of material that you're talking about. If you're talking about the organic waste, which is biodegradable with the bacteria, specific bacteria, then again it varies. Like as an example, simple example, if you're talking about the food waste that is being generated, from the household or from the factories, etc. So food waste can potentially generate somewhere about 1 ton can generate 100 cubic meter of biogas. But if you're talking about the pig or the cow manure, etc., 1 ton could only generate 20 cubic meter of biogas. So density will vary depending on the biodegradability, the organic content, and other stuff. Similarly, like when you're talking about the other technologies like gasification, pyrolysis technology, it also varies depending on what is the inherent, the energy value of those materials. You can get that material output.
Is that measured as a is there a measure of entropy or enthalpy
Yeah,
that you
basically, like you can have make it how many kilojoule, megajoule type of energy that you can
calculations?
actually get out of it. Yeah.
I see.
So that is
Oh,
what
that's
is there. So, and for that again, like as I say, there are a lot of reports have been published. There are some universities working on that as well. What are the resources available? But those type of reports are already there. Now it's a
yes.
time for action. You know what is available. You know what need to be do. You know what is to be implemented, and just do it. Implement the technology, generate energy, generate other sort of valuable byproduct. As an example, from the biogas, you can get the fertilizer, biofertilizer in terms of the digestate. It's got nutrient value. You can also generate carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide can be used in multiple ways as well.
And can you catalyze the decomposition using some sort of microbial decomposition
Yeah,
or accelerate the decomposition so there's more gas yield, biogas yield? Is that
yeah,
something
yeah.
that's
Yeah, that
possible?
yeah, that sort of as I say, like technology leverage or technology innovations that are happening in the market, wide and large. In most of the universities and research centers, they're doing. Some of the people are also doing on the field as well. So as an example, we have a lot of agriculture biomass waste available, like what is coming out of rice husk or straw, and those type of things.
Mm.
Back in India, usually they burn it during the winter time, and you get a lot of smog there. And with the smog, air pollution problems and those things. So what the Indian government has done is they started giving subsidy to the farmers. Why don't you build a biogas plant to decompose all that organic material, get the biogas purified, and convert into the bio CNG, which can be utilized as a vehicular fuel. And they are giving a guarantee of picking it up, or offtake guarantee, like we will definitely be buying at certain rate from the farmer. So those risks are being eliminated in the whole process. So in this agriculture biomass, there are a lot of new things happening, like, you can enhance the biogas production with those agriculture biomass, which has got lignocellulosic material, by adding some fungal consortium, which will
Mm.
enhance, the biogas production, biomethane production by
Yes.
about, 20 to 40%, even that range. Then there are certain thermal sort of, processes as well. So depending on the site location, availability of the resources, you can always work it out. What is the best possible solution that can enhance, the value addition? I'll give you one very good example, like, the way I think, out of the box, or, thinking the real problem. I went to one of the universities to give some sort of presentation, and there was someone from the airport authority, and they were talking about the sustainable aviation fuel, another alternative fuel in the market. Now it has got real value, because the overall carbon footprint for that aeroplane, that field, is very high.
Yeah.
Obviously, like everyone is trying, like Qantas and all the big players are trying to reduce or decarbonize by using the SAF.
Yes.
So when I was presenting, then idea came to my mind, like there is one biogas plant, like the utility plant, which is generating all the sewage and the biosolids. Biosolids are treated into the biogas plant, and then from there they are getting the biogas, which is used for electricity generation. So what I did is, like, what I thought is, like, instead of just burning it in the CHP in a generators, like to generate electricity, why not separate out the CO2, carbon dioxide, and use the CO2 to basically convert into syngas, and then from there with the Fischer-Tropsch mechanism, you can get the SAF from there.
Yes.
So there are solid oxide electrolyzer technologies which are there. We can take a demonstration or trial wherein you can use carbon dioxide to generate the syngas. In the whole process, you can also generate oxygen, which can given back to the utility industry, wherein they can improve their performance. So there is a win-win situation for the airport authority, for the utility industry, as well as for the other people
And
to get that
and
as well.
on the biofuel front, there was a gentleman I met in Newcastle, CSIRO, right?
Oh, yep.
And he was working on fuel injection systems,
Yep.
and this was one of the topics he was very sort of invested in and passionate about. Uh,
Mm.
how to get the same uh, thermal efficiency from alternate fuels. He was
Yep.
even bloody talking about water as a fuel,
Yeah. Okay. Hmm.
right? So,
Interesting.
so,
Yeah.
so the thing is,
Ah,
he blew my mind because
yeah.
the thing is, and I've even seen it here and there, but I don't know how it works. And obviously, what he was also probably inferring is how hydrogen works
Yeah.
in hydrogen catalysis works
Correct.
uh, to power locomotives, right?
Hmm.
And the thing is, uh, and it was in CSRO Newcastle, right? He was specifically. I'll send you his details later, but
Yeah.
he was checking how the all the material properties and
Yep.
attributes of biofuels
Hmm.
for internal combustion engines.
Yep.
And that ties in with what you're talking about aviation fuel,
Yeah.
right? Them and this part I'm guessing because I don't know. As with anything, there's always certification requirements,
Yeah. There is solution requirement as well. You
right?
need to check the quality of for the every batch. Obviously.
Right?
Yep.
And there are sort of you need to take assays and you need to
Yep.
be able to stabilize
Yep.
the the spectroscopic aspects,
Yep.
spectroscopic qualities of the fuel.
Correct. Yep.
And it's bloody interesting if that works. That'll be. It's not just
Like,
about. It's not just about winning a contract. It's
yeah.
actually also about because the internet, the global stratospheric usage
Yep.
of aviation is so immense.
That is
Even decreasing emissions by 15% is a good thing.
very, very big thing. Yeah. Very, very big thing. Yeah, that's true. So that's why, those sort of innovative things, need support. And, I, being a small company, consultancy company, it's very hard to find the sort of support from the big utility companies. And, but yeah, it will be there some other day. And, the thing is, like, as I mentioned, like, I also work in other parts of the world, in Southeast Asia and Middle East and Pacific Island, and even in Africa. So yeah, wherever they are interested, the industry is interested, I provide those sort of innovative solutions and technologies to them.
And how do we bring balance to economic viability and the sustainable greater good? How do we create a synergy, sustain that synergy, and what does that synergy look like, and what policies will lead to that synergy?
Yeah, basically, like, implementing those technologies like may not always be 100% economically viable. You may not get 20% IRR all the time. You may get 5 8% less than 10% IRR. So having said that, you need to find out what are the different aspects that you look into. As an example, if you have a biohub sort of thing, the biohub is a concept wherein all the different industrial area, they are putting all their waste in one area, one central location. So in this way, what they're doing is they are eliminating that transportation cost. They're eliminating the greenhouse gas emission because of that. So those small players will get benefited because of that, while the large player who need a lot of energy and other thing, heat and other stuff or fuel, so they can utilize what comes out of those sort of small biohub treatment plants. So this is a very good sort of biorefining concept, and that is what we are pushing now in the market as well. um
Yeah.
to, so So those sort of areas are, required to be, backed up by the council, by the state government or federal government, and that will help to implement those projects in the long term as well.
And what barriers are you having convincing ministers or
Um, we
convincing
haven't
decision
we haven't
makers?
approached the government departments yet. We are trying to approach direct industry first, and some of the industries that we are already looking into it. So most of the thing is like, as you know, the main thing is the finance. They don't have that much money to invest into those sort of games because they have their own expenses. So what
Yes.
we're trying to find out is, if there are some investors coming on board and, they can help us driving these projects. So if they could get around 20%, 15% to 22% IRR, then definitely the investor will be more than happy.
So obviously you're looking for investors in the in uh,
Renewable energy sector. Yeah. Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
but more specifically, you're looking for qualified investors who
Yeah.
can who can they're educated and also
Right. Yep.
understand the value of
Very true.
using
Yep.
biological systems.
Correct. Correct. Yep. We do
Okay.
have technologies
Yeah.
which is not only the biological, but also like, the mechanical, chemical type of technologies as well, like pyrolysis and gasification technology. So depending on what the client needs, we can mix and match. So for one of the
And
projects that, we are doing
and and he- and,
biogas.
he, and here's the dumb question: the investor invests in you, you get what you want.
Yep.
What are the next steps once you have the investment to scale your solution?
Yep.
What is the buyback and what might the investor expect in return?
Yeah, the basically, as I say, like they will get somewhere about 20%, around 20% IRR. And
Yes.
we have the documentation done, wherein after, about 5 years, they can have an exit policy. So they will get multiple value addition product out of the technologies that we are supplying, not only in terms of gas, electricity, but also the diesel, which has got the offtake agreement with one of the multinational companies as well. So
Yeah.
all in all, there is a win-win situation. They also get the value out of the carbon dioxide, their biofertilizer. So there are a lot of things depending on the appetite of the customer or the
Yes.
investor. We can add different puzzles into the pieces as well. Yeah, pieces into the puzzle as well. Yeah,
And I think in my understanding is in the if you look at the certain segments of superannuation, if you look at their investment policy, they also invest that if you look at the some of the PDSs of the superannuation industries, their investment policies also invest in ethical and sustainable
yeah,
technologies.
correct, correct. Yep,
So that is it is worth just keeping an eye on
yep,
because they may offer opportunities where you can express interest to cooperate.
yep,
Uh,
certainly.
but I don't know where those opportunities are, but I've definitely seen this in those circles.
Correct, correct. Yep. Let's hope for the
So,
best and see how we go. Yeah.
okay, Jayant.
All right.
And would you like to discuss your the technical features of your plant in a future interview, or is that something we
Yeah, I
should?
think once we are nearer to the plant, got the order in hand, then definitely I would be more than happy to discuss what are the different aspects, how we are embedding different technologies together to maximize the benefit to the end user as well as the investor as well.
Okay,
Excellent.
Jayant. All
All
right.
right.
Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you very much. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Bye bye.